Right, flat Earth stuff, flat Earth bullshit. I saw a video the other day on YouTube. It was two pilots that are flat earthers talking about when he takes his helicopter up in the air, opposite. Why doesn't he go? He's in America. Why doesn't he go from California to wherever? Because the world turning underneath you at 1,000 miles an hour. It's really frightening. I can't believe that he even came out with that. Sorry, excuse me. It's basic. When you're on the Earth's turning, the atmosphere's turning with it. You're on the floor, that's turning. The plane's turning with it. The helicopter's turning with it. You're turning with it. The whole mass of the Earth, the gravity is pulling you all to the centre of the Earth at all times. It's keeping the atmosphere there, the sea, the plane. The plane is on the floor, the helicopter's on the floor, moving at 1,000 miles an hour of the Earth. You are the building zone, the Earth is, the atmosphere is. You take off in the helicopter, you're still moving at the same rate, 1,000 miles an hour with the turn of the Earth. Because you're in the atmosphere, you're in that bubble. It's like when you're on an aircraft as a passenger. If you're a flat earther or whatever you are, you've all travelled on a plane. You're travelling in a plane at 600 miles an hour. If you jump up in the air on that plane, you don't fly to the back of the plane, do you? Because you're in the bubble of that plane. You're travelling at 600 miles an hour forwards in that plane. You can't feel the movement unless you hit turbulence, or you descend or ascend or speed up or slow down or land. Or same as if you throw a ball up or a cup up on that plane, or you spill something, you drop something, it doesn't fly to the back of the plane, it just goes up and comes down again. Same as when you're in a car, driving in a car. It's the old experiment. You can drive at 60 miles an hour in a car, the passenger can throw a ball up in the air, the ball just goes up and comes down again. It doesn't fly to the back of the car because you're travelling with the momentum in that car. It's all about momentum, the laws of momentum. And I can't understand that an helicopter pilot, didn't understand the concepts of that. It's just ridiculous. You know, if you jump up, the world doesn't turn underneath you. If I jumped up now like so, the world doesn't just turn in front of me. I mean, I'm moving with it. My house is moving with it. The atmosphere, I'm moving with it. You don't, and in all this about motion, you don't feel motion. You know, if you're on a plane in smooth air, flying at 600 miles an hour, do you know you're moving? You don't know you're moving, because the human body feels acceleration. It doesn't feel constant speed. If you speed up, slow down, if you get bumps, if you get turbulence, ascend, descend, so on. The Earth's turning, yeah, 1,000 miles an hour, but it's a huge sphere, and it turns once in 24 hours. If you get a sphere and turn it slowly, and turn it once in 24 hours, it's hardly moving. It's just because of the size of it, the relative speed is that it's travelling that fast. But you're not going to feel movement that's constant, that's always been the same speed that you're born into. You might feel it, but you do feel some acceleration, and that's the acceleration of gravity that's pulling you to the centre of Earth at all times. The floor's just there to stop you. It pulls you all down. That's how you know what's up, that's how you know what's down. You're born into it, it's always been there, so you don't feel it. It's really frightening that a pilot didn't understand the basics of that sort of movement. You know, the ground's moving, the helicopter takes off, it's still moving with the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour. It can go backwards and forwards and do what it wants. It's like if you get on that plane that I was talking about and you walk to the back of that plane to the toilet and then come back again, it takes you the same time backwards and forwards if there's nobody in the way. It doesn't go, you know, you're not going faster if the plane's heading that way, you're walking to the toilet that way. You don't get to the toilet quicker because the plane's going that way, and vice versa, because you're inside the plane moving with that plane. It's the same principle of an aircraft in the atmosphere of the Earth. It's turning in the atmosphere of the Earth, it's moving with the planet, and it's going to its destination. Same as you walking inside that plane or on a bus or a train that's travelling at 100 miles an hour and you're walking backwards and forwards, you can still travel to distances. You're not quicker one way or the other. You're moving with that, and it's quite simple. It's travelling within that bubble, moving with the Earth, but it's travelling to destinations. Same as you do on a train. You can turn to the side, you can turn to the left, you can go backwards and forwards on an aircraft as well. It's travelling at 600 miles an hour, but you don't shoot to the back or get quicker one way or the other. The fact that you can't turn because you fall over. Yes, it's quite a frightening concept that a pilot didn't understand that, and he's saying about his helicopter takes off, why doesn't the ground move beneath him? It's absolutely ludicrous. And as for seeing the curve of the Earth, there's another big thing to come out with. Well, how big do you think you are compared to the size of the Earth? the Earth is sort of 8,000 miles across or whatever. It's a huge sphere. It's not in terms of the universe, the galaxy, the solar system. It's not the biggest. It's just a small, fairly small planet. But to us, to human beings, to an aircraft, to a building, to a city, it's a huge sphere. If it was a globe the size of my house, a city would be like a pinprick on it. A huge city like Los Angeles, New York, or something like that. You don't even register. You know, if you get a huge sphere and take a little spot on it like that, it's flat. You're not going to notice a curve. You're too small. You know, people think you should just see the curve all the time. You're not going to. It's too big comparison to you from your perspective. And when you're flying in a plane, you only fly about 7 miles high, you know, not hundreds of miles high where the space starts. It's hardly recognisable. It's hardly noticeable on the size of the Earth, the size of a plane, and so on. Yeah, so I mean, no doubt if anyone does watch this, I might not get any views. I don't care if I don't, but I'll probably get some abuse off people. I've already had lots from comments I've made challenging